You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us at Answers from the Universe. I am your host, Jessica Ariel Morocco, and I also am pleased to invite and join in with me JP during my show. As we have mentioned, this has been a long series, an unexpected long series of the Andromeda transmissions, which we'll be working on part number 16 today. And, things continue to progress. The whole quest to resolve the CERN project and what is supposed to happen in this whole thing with September 23rd, which is already starting, and all the planetary alignments and so forth. It does make you question and wonder, what is going on. But also sending out good intentions, safety, protection, love, and peace, harmony throughout the universe, throughout the planet, and to all our friends both above and below. Hello, JP. How are you?
Hello, my dear. How are you?
I'm doing just well. So.
Okay, well, I'm just getting my other screen up with the chat room there.
Okay,
so,
good.
Yeah, so I've got it on the left hand. I've got my transmission in front of me. I got the studio over to the right. Yeah, all is good. We're recording. We're online. We're on air.
Yay!
Answers from the universe. Yes. So, it's been quite an interesting time. I had a very spontaneous moment yesterday, as I was due to just produce Sean David Morton, and he was completely MIA. He just didn't turn up. I still haven't heard from him. Actually, quite a lot of people seem to be MIA yesterday. So maybe
oh my gosh! A good friend of mine just called me this morning, said she's tired that people are not showing up. They're making appointments. They want to come and be vendors at her show. They're not showing up. What's going on?
Well, I felt like this last week. I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to just stay at home and sleep. I was so tired. So really tired and exhausted and just into my own stuff, and much to the detriment of my social life. But anyway, so I was doing this thing, and I was sort of panicking a little bit at the beginning, and suddenly I got a text from Cliff High, who's the guy who does the web bots, and he spoke for 2 hours about all of the research that he's been doing in the last couple of years. It's just brilliant. It was just brilliant. It just exploded, and we actually broke the record for all Revolution Radio shows ever.
Wow.
We had 1 million listeners yesterday.
Oh my God.
So it's a kind of plus-minus thing, some really difficult stuff's happening and also some really amazing stuff's happening. So,
all right, so what was the discussion about the web bots that people were intrigued about?
Well, I mean, do you know what the web bot is?
No, why don't you inform me?
Okay, Cliff High is a man, he's been doing this since, he says he's been doing it since 2003, and he originally did it to try and figure out stock market, to make some money on the stock market. And that's his original thing. But the whole thing kind of grew and took over and became a thing all by itself. And what it does, it crawls, you know what forums are on the internet?
Yeah.
So it crawls around the forums and picks out the emotional quality of the words that people are using. And he has found over the years that this thing can be quite accurate. In fact, he was doing this before 2000, obviously, because he saw a blip at 9/11. He saw something perturb the wave. And so he's been looking at this, and what they do is take all the words that people use, and he's discovered that the more intense the pressure is that humanity is under, people will express adjectives in different ways. So, for instance, one morning I say, the traffic was difficult this morning. And the next day I might say, the traffic was really hard this morning. and then the next day I might say, oh, it was stupendous. Yeah, it was stupendous today. You know, these emotive words have a value, an emotive value. So basically what he does is takes all these words, throws them into a big box. Oh, I got the feedback thing now. Can you tap your microphone, please?
Sure.
Uh-huh.
How's that?
Nope, still nothing. Try again. That's
I'm tapping it at different times, different places.
Yeah. I think it's the one near the end that does it. It's gone now. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good.
So so by analysing all these forums, and these are not forums about politics or anything. These are like things like one of his famous is dahlias. People who grow flowers have forums. You know, they discuss what chemicals they use, and they talk about what bugs might have appeared that day. And for instance, they all might say, "Oh, we were flooded by insects." Now, as you know, flooded is a double meaning. It not only means that there were massive amounts of insects, but also a flood is a large amount of water. Okay, so that keyword used in that particular sentence over and over again, loads of people might be saying flooding and overwhelmed and all these things, is indicating that there's a flood on the way. Because he's saying that people are generally unconsciously psychic, and that it comes out in these words. And so by taking the world as a whole, or as many different languages and different countries and forums into account, you can see on a global level where the consciousness is predicting what is going to happen next. It's fascinating. So there are many subjects we touched. I'm going to upload it to my YouTube channel, so it will be in the previous video to the one that you're listening to now, if you're actually listening to the YouTube archive, which most people do. So it'll be in the Studio 9 Jam YouTube channel, so you get a chance to hear it. But quite fascinating. Well, very fascinating, because I haven't heard Cliff for a long time. We haven't had a good chance to chat, and he had a good expounding. It was really a very interesting moment at the moment that it was, being on Yom Kippur and this day of Atonement and things like that.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people listening in and trying to figure out, how to validate. Now, it's sort of similar to what the media must do, right? When they're trying to measure rating and statistics regarding programming and news and so forth. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does he work in that industry?
Well, he and I are from a similar thread of industry. We're both coders. We both write computer code.
I see.
And we had a total geek out. Two bald guys talking about stuff. It was great.
Makes me want to go bald.
Well, don't go Ben and Gesserit on me.
Never know. We keep on going with this series.
Yeah.
Lady Jessica, Lady Jessica.
Lady Jessica, indeed. That's right. Leto. Okay, so shall we get into part 16?
Sure.
So let's go. But let me just adjust my Andromedan jacket.
Not to mention anything else, but
how have you been?
Morton's. Oh, I've been doing well, but it was Sean David Morton's show that guy called me Lady Jessica. Mm-hmm. It was the one and only time that I was kind of active and speaking on the show. Funny. Okay, so Andromeda Transmissions, Part 16. We need a little tune for him. Anyway, greetings, my friend. There is so much happening on Zephron. Some of our people have asked to leave, and the pressure of being here has escalated.
We spend less time enjoying our experience and more time putting out fires. Oh, God, I enjoy that.
Familiar.
Now we see the great task the Vegas had keeping things in order on the planet. We are not nearly as charming, persuasive, or effective as we would have liked to have been. The Lucido have not left as they implied that they would. The Ketronians seem to be competing with us and trying to integrate our system through dissension of our group. They are quite crafty and alluring to the opposite sex. Our men seem to feel that they provide good leadership, as I seem too pulled in too many directions.
You're relating to this, aren't you?
Here is our ultimatum by the many groups who live amongst us, as well as our group alone. They want us to send Sumeramis back to her former home. I am distressed and have discovered that she has been my shining light while with me in this trying time. However, there may be some truth that her presence has upset our balance on the planet and potentially in the galaxy. Regarding her world, we may be in violation of interfering with some other civilizations' timelines which are contrary to our codex. Allow me to explain. We are in great danger of creating a destructive force in our time sequence because we stepped into your timeline and were seen by others from your planet Earth, as well as by the Aldebaranians. It appears that they had control on your planet when we stepped in, and now they are challenging our interference with their society on Earth, that we were not aware of. We are also unclear why they were allowed to interfere with the human experience if we were not allowed to do so. I think we can visit as the Lucido do but nothing more. However, we did accidentally step in and take a human back to our society. Our only solution is to return her back into her former timeline. My heart is torn. I believe I need to return her back home where we found her. I am told by the Lucido that this may be sure death to us and possibly my people. I have searched for a connection to the Vegas, and they have informed me how to return her the right way and how to remove her memories of this experience so that we do not have a breach of information of our experience on Zephyron. They told me that despite my efforts, she will at some point remember. Unfortunately, ultimately, she will waken at a time when we most need her.
Are you able to do this safely? Will she be okay, or is she in danger of the Makala again? How can they ask you to do this?
We can bring her back safely where she is returned to another location before they visit her planet. For some reason we are noticing that the time travel mechanism is set for someone to meet her. Maybe this was intentional. Not that she would be harmed, but she would be discovered. I don't understand it. The only part I know is that she is quite upset and was begging me not to abandon her there. She is begging me to come with her. I have to do the most difficult thing of removing her memory. I may never see her again.
I can see you're quite upset about the matter. What did the Vegas say is the outcome?
She is fine and the incident never happens. Her injury is undone and she doesn't get hurt like that again. It was a horrible, violent offense against her and her people. The Vegas are now telling me that Shiva wanted us to rescue and protect her for that time period. She is now safe to return. He is also telling me that I must be patient, and in time I will be able to visit her again. I cannot distress over this any further. My people and the planet are in danger. I trust Shiva will assist and has the best interest in all of this. I must return to the camp and spend some time with her. The Slitaran are acting odd and the Lucido have contracted an illness. We must not delay. 2 days later. Well, it is done. I have sent my love away to her former planet. My heart is heavy and full of grief. The rest of the planet's inhabitants are at ease knowing that she is gone. None of them see her as she is, just merely an intruder or poison in our fragile system. It is over now. I have a looking glass to peer through, but my heart is only worse knowing that she has no former memory of me, and that she may be happy with another. I know I must move on and care for my greater concerns. The Andromedan woman has been kind, but I am not content with any of them at this time. My experience has changed dramatically, and I feel that I must move on. Just to make matters worse, the Aldebaranians have arrived. They are searching for answers. We have returned Sumeramis just in time, and they can no longer find her. Also, we changed her identity, and she is no longer Queen of Sumer. They can make their demands known to the Vegas, although I highly doubt they will have an effect on their decisions. They are also demanding that a council be formed of representatives from each culture to further investigate activity done on this planet. They seem to be insistent on taking control over the planet. The Lucido do not want to interfere or take either side. I see that they are highly intimidated by them. I recognize that the Vegas have left me in control of Zephyron, and Contronians have also taken exception to their brazen enforcements. They are becoming more assertive and less relaxed that they had settled into their own on this planet. I see they are going to have a confrontation with the Aldebaranians, but I'm not sure if the Contronians will create a war on this planet, or if the Aldebaranians actually have some power we are not aware of, as the Lucido seem to be hesitant over. I seem to occupy my time watching over everything, since I no longer have a reason to rest peacefully in my bed as my dear Sumer is now gone. I fill the void with work, communication and protection of the planet. I have insisted that all things are done as the Vegas have instructed me. The Aldebaranians are ignoring me and have been trying to override my system through private conversations amongst the Slitarin, Lucido and even the Ketronians. Fortunately, none of them seem to care about their plans, with the exception of the Lucido, who seem to have disappeared. I suppose the entrance of the Aldebaranians created a reason for the Lucido to move into their next mission. The buildings they had created were apparently created for the Aldebaranians. They are now moving in. The tall buildings are their sleeping quarters. I must meet with them tomorrow to discuss their intentions of being here.
6 hours have passed.
It is daybreak, and I am in front of the Council of Aldebaran. Others had arrived last night by spacecraft, and I am clearly outnumbered. They have all the High Elders awaiting my presence, and I have a protocol that I am not familiar with. I know that Sumeramis told me about the protocol of being a queen on Earth. This must be how they operate. A long line of events have already been planned. I don't know anything else but to tell them they must leave. There is no purpose for their leadership to be here, since it is already in our control. We are sending another Andromedan group to set up an outpost on Aldebaran to learn more about their society now they have set up on Zephyron. We have the right to request the same. They seem to act as if they are not familiar with this guideline from source and how it is carried out by the Vegas. I shall see to it that they arrive there soon and cut off the controls that they are using on our planet. We can hear the mind control facets within our brain and recognize them as identical to the Vinkala control systems. I have corrected them and demanded that they discontinue to use this frequency on the planet. They continue to ask me about Sumer. When she left, where she went, why she was here, how she got here and so forth. I explained how it all happened and they laughed as if I was not revealing the truth of it all. I need the Vega's help now. They are more than I can handle. I feel that they can easily overtake the planet. Maybe this is part of the turmoil of your Earth. It would make sense if they are there now in control. I'm concerned for all of you on Earth. They are very insistent. The eldest one is a... Oh, sorry, can you tap the mic? No, it's the end, I think. Tap the end. No? No, try the earpiece now. No, it's still there. Oh, that stopped it. Whatever you did just then, remember what you did.
It's different each time.
All right. Okay. The eldest one is a female. Quite strong and has great telepathic abilities. She knows when I am not revealing everything. One of the Slitarin, called Moloch, told her she must leave. The Ketronians are not tolerant at all. We have all decided to ignore them and return back to our daily labours. Now we are less troublesome to one another, and are more concerned about the volatile behaviour of this Aldebaranian ruler who goes by the name Sheriah. In some ways this has helped the rest of us. The Vegas said we shouldn't worry, they will leave soon. 4 days later. It has been quiet all morning in our campsite, and we heard a loud sound. We think the Aldebaranians have left. The craft was seen departing above the planet. They left a few items behind. I will investigate it soon. From what I understand, there was an unexpected fire flare on Aldebaran, and our people are all safe, but one of their cities are presently in an uprising. The information is that the leadership was gone, so the inhabitants created a rebellion. I think it is a matter of time before we visit their planet as well. We will be informed. The others on the planet seem to be planning an exodus, both the Slitarin and the Ketronians. Apparently, they are planning to find another planet, and are tired of all the disruptions of other beings being involved. It appears that our time is getting close to an end. It is nearing the 6-month mark, just as they had said it would. Many of us are going to rest. This has been the most peaceful evening we have experienced in a while, and feel somewhat relieved by the exoduses. The last question that was asked today, where will we go next? That remains to be seen. Over and out, my friends. Continue to be safely guided by the planetary alignment around your Earth and the stars that lift you to new ascensions. Blessings lighten beyond our distance, much peace and safety to all. 85, 53, 22, 16. Stellar lights await your blue planet. Andronicus. The transmission endeth.
Yes. So the Aldebarans showed up, trying to push their weight around.
Our friends the Aldebarans, who apparently speak German and and write in runes and are very insistent.
Queen ships. Yes.
They have queens, and they're very insistent. Where have we seen that before? No, it's really, I'm wondering, this stuff that the Aldebarans left behind, I bet there's a bug. I bet they got some sort of remote controlled spy mechanism or something like that. I don't know. We'll find out. So how's, Andronicus is in a different space today, isn't he?
Yeah.
Poor fellow.
That's all right. He lost his girlfriend. They made him get rid of her and send her back into the timeline, and then he, has had to deal with everybody, telling him what he needed to do, and then on top of that, then you have this monarch showing up and trying to rule and control everything.
Well, where have we seen that before? Anyway, so it's very interesting, isn't it? That there's and so. Well, let's talk about Sumeramis. She's placed in another position. Her memories are wiped, but she still probably has, intuitive abilities, so to speak.
Yes.
Much like we were talking about the human race and Cliff High's Webbot. That underneath, the memories are still there. They've just been masked.
Right, that's the subconscious memory still exists, and they said that she would probably still remember, and that's the the makeup of the human soul, being able to gather information from all different experiences. And that's why regressions seem to be very revealing, because people have vivid memories of things. And they think it's hallucinations. They're like, well, I did a session for someone that said he was attached to a spaceship. And he looked at me like, you did that. And I said, no, of course, how could I do that? That's your memory. The memory started to reveal what the experience was. The hidden memory, it's buried memory. And what a person, the soul, has been through, the best way to find out, what you've done and where have you been, is to practice these things. Go in and take a look. Look at your past lives. It's very revealing.
It is very revealing. So, and incredibly weird. I mean, the first time you took
incredibly weird. Yes.
The first time you took me on a regression, we went to a parallel universe in the past. So that was too weird. Anyway, so
it's weird because you can't, linearly can't follow where it came from, but at the same time, it was so phenomenally real, and also you needed a healing there.
Yeah, there was
that also gets buried. And you bring that into every lifetime unless you clear it.
So, So he's talking about the Andromedan woman. So this is like a rebellious Andromedan woman, wasn't it, or something? Or...
No, the Andromedan woman were trying to help out,
right?
And probably help him with his grief and sorrow, and say, hey, she's gone, but why don't you partner with us?
Oh, I see. It should be Andromedan women.
Women,
yeah, because okay, I'll just correct it on my thing. The Andromedan women have been kind, but I'm not content with any of them at this time. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, he just wasn't sure who he should be with, and I think he was, when you're missing someone, it's not just filling, it wasn't just to fill a sexual need, there was actually an emotional connection and a love there, so they were just thinking, oh, we'll go over and comfort him. But that's not what he was talking about. So, I think he was just kind of mourning her loss, like a death.
Yeah, and once you've gone Earth, you don't go back. Once you go Earth, girl, yeah.
Well, according to the Bible and the Nephilims.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, they got in huge trouble, didn't they? Coming here, being with a human woman.
What is it? Earth girls? Earth girls are hot, or
Earth girls are easy.
That's the one. Oh, yeah. Hey, when it comes to
or who sings that song? American Woman, Stay Away From Me. There's a few different stars that sing that one.
Yeah. Well, Aldebaranian Woman, Stay Away From Me. But.
Yeah, Aldebaranian Woman, Stay Away From Me. And so what, as we mentioned earlier, the Aldebaranians are very reminiscent of the Bene Gesserit from Dune.
Yeah, and
for those who are really into all that.
And of course, Aldebaranians were the ones that the Nazis were connecting with in the pre-war period, who connected with the Vril Society and helped them create the Die Glocke and the other time travel and space travel devices that we now are aware that the Nazis had, and presumably still have. Because actually, this is one of the things I wanted to speak about. I was going to talk about that too on some show. But basically, it was about the idea of that a lot of the UFO sightings. We could do one now. A lot of the UFO sightings over the last 50, 60 years, I believe, are actually Nazi craft, especially those ones in South America, because we know that there's a lot, Hitler and his...
Because Hitler's over there in Argentina still?
In Argentina, and he was until the 80s, certainly that he was that they were still working. That they, the Nazis didn't lose the war; they just went underground and let the Germans lose. And this is their MO. They hide inside a group, get the group to do what they want, and then they kill them all. And that's exactly, by the way, what is happening on planet Earth. They got everybody to build CERN, and now they're going to try and wipe us all out with chemtrails and diseases and all sorts of other stuff. So essentially, their job is done. That's, building CERN. So now they can get away and they can kill us all. However, it didn't work so well. And, tell me about what you worked on with CERN, Jessica.
Well, I think the whole thing that bothered me is when I saw Shiva there in front. And I do have a relationship of, communication with Shiva. And, people have different, viewpoints on that. But I feel like he is overseeing our experience in a positive way. And a lot of people refer to him as the destroyer. Whereas, when you're in creation mode, I think more of the earth. And the earth was without void and form, and so there, it has to start with a palette, and then it turns into something else. But that's my point of view, and I'm not trying to portray some scientific explanation for any of it. But it's more of theory and an expression of how I feel, what I feel when I am in that experience with him, and then discovering that CERN has this statue of Shiva in the front of it, which doesn't make any sense at all, because this is not a religious institute. This is a sacred being. It's like having an image of Jesus Christ in front of CERN, or having an image of Buddha, or having an image, and I know that, they're trying to imply that this is, the dance, doing the cosmic dance, which insinuates the whole process of creation or destruction. But nonetheless, this is a sacred being for many people. If you would take, Muhammad and have a statue in front of him and in front of a building that has to do with potentially destroying the earth. How would the Muslims feel? So, there's, first of all, there's religious violation to some degree, is a lack of respect. And also, my belief is anytime they want to do something bad, they blame it on a deity. Look at ISIS. ISIS was a sacred being. She's a sacred mother. She is, the divine feminine, as well as many other deities that they're using and blaming for some kind of destructive force that they want to do to the planet. And so someone asked me, they said, well, they said, well, why do you suppose they're doing that? And I said, well, when you look at it this way, if something goes wrong, then it's that deity that did it to us. And so then we're in opposition to the deity that was actually brought here to support and help us, the planet. And then she said, well, that's not fair. We're just human. We don't know any different. And I said, I'm not saying that it just doesn't create a divide. It doesn't create like they're angry at us, but it creates that separation. And likewise, if we believe that the deities are out here to destroy us, then we can't go to them. We can't open our hearts to them. We can't, how can we go to Jesus Christ if everyone's saying how evil he is, or there's going to be a false Christ, or there's going to be this or that? All of this stuff's in our heart anyhow, and they're here to support us, and I believe that Source is the ultimate of all. But meanwhile, if there are higher beings, which there are levels and layers of higher support systems, there's, the Buddha was here to support us, and, Jehovah or however you believe, they're all here to support us. And even if you go back to the ancient gods and goddesses, I'm even hearing people, even the Egyptian god Osiris, if people are saying that he's Satan, Osiris was Satan, the Eye of Horus was the devil, and that Apollo's going to come back and he's going to destroy something. And I'm like, that's just ridiculous. It's human beings making a choice to do certain things. And if the deities wanted to do that to us, they would have done it a long time ago. But that's not really what their purpose was. Their purpose was to support us in different areas. So, I mean, that's what I'm feeling. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but you can just stop me, JP, at any time.
It's your show, honey.
I know that, but you know what it is when you get a little out of control. So, I know that I'm not saying anything highly controversial, but, you know, maybe I'm beating the dead horse, I guess.
So, no, because there's it's an interesting concept that, you know, they're shifting blame. It's funny, I was talking about shifting blame and shifting, not blame, shifting anger, you know, in various sessions, you know. It's very easy to, for instance, blame the government when actually you're still angry with your parents.
Right.
You know, and it's like, instead of saying we're doing this, you know, oh, God did it, oh, ISIS did it.
Yeah.
And it's a way of shifting blame away from them.
Well, essentially, we're creating our own realities anyhow, and so a lot of times, I'm not saying that, you know, we're creating mass destruction, but you know, for our day-to-day experiences, we're creating a lot of that, and people do look on the outside and they do blame their parents, their friends, their spouses, and a lot of it is just to try to have peace within. And if we can find that peace within, then some of the other stuff may diminish, because then there will be a peace with our neighbor, we'll be at peace with our families, and anyone else that may be affecting our experience. Ultimately, you know, we're all going to pass over into the other side, and so, you know, it's really about us being at peace with the universe. And when we get there, a lot of this other stuff won't fully matter, although we are, to some degree, caretakers of the planet. The native people were the caretakers of the earth. The native or the indigenous people, they know that their purpose is to help and serve the earth and make sure that animals and plants are protected and so forth. And so we should also incorporate that as a part of our existence. And the other part is to know that the stars and the universe belong. We're not the only one that lives in this universe, and we don't have a right to clutter and send out garbage and metal objects and satellites and just let them throw them out into space like that's a trash can. We're being visited by other beings, and they're letting us know that they don't like a lot of this stuff. So we need to be caretakers. We need to be responsible for different things. Now, as far as trying to get into experimentation, you know, experimenting on a small scale within a clean room, within a place that's protected is one thing. And I embrace the whole concept of the science world, wanting to discover and create the remedy for cancers, the remedies for how to feed the world, remedy to clean any toxins in the air or resolve what happened in Japan, you know, regarding the nuclear stuff. All of this stuff is very, very worthy of our science minds and attention and focus. But when we're taking our energy and our highest intelligence to learn how to destroy the planet, that's really unfortunate. And I think that others should just step in and, you know, recognize that whoever is behind that is potentially at a point of madness. Nothing less than that, because it doesn't even seem to make sense. and having a hard time wrapping my head around it, as well as many other sensible people in the world who are saying, enough is enough. This is not your playground to just experiment, unresponsibly. And, getting back to the Andronicus stuff, it seems like the Mars beings, or the Lucido, who, have a tendency to create a lot of different types of, or get into scientific experiments, have a tendency to affect the atmosphere with toxins at times. And so there has to be a balance and monitoring with the scientific thing. This has been going on for a long time. And apparently, through these transmissions, this was pre the Earth experience, so it was more of a time travel that Sumeramis came in. And, but this was, quite earlier in time before we existed. And maybe the Earth in that exact timeline was in chaos while, Andronicus was sending these transmissions. So it's really hard to put my head around the exact time period, but that's the idea that I get. And I know I'm kind of all over the map here, but so anyhow, I had to get on my soapbox for today talking about this stuff, because it's the date. September 23rd is when the whole CERN thing was supposed to occur. And a lot of things are happening in the stars, and supposed to be a blood moon, or I think it's a lunar eclipse too. There's a bunch of things supposed to happen, all until like Monday.
Yeah. So do you want me to just go through?
Yeah, please.
Hang on.
You have it again?
Yep, tap again. Tap. There we go. Gone. All right. So the cycles of the moon. You may have noticed that when we were young, many years ago, not that many of you, but when we were young, there were an eclipse happened every few years. And it was a kind of random and kind of bizarre event. However, these days we're getting several eclipses in a year. And the reason for this is because of the flat solar plane. We're all on a flat plane. We're all laying on as if we're on the same disk. Because as planets move around, and of course, we're not actually on a disk. The solar system is not a disk. It will never be a disk. It can never be a disk, because it's moving. Everything's moving, so it's never going to be a disk. But from a static point of view, sitting behind it, it sort of looks like a disk. Yeah. When you have your solar system. And so we're kind of spinning. We're spiraling. Essentially, the sun is like a comet, and we're like in the tail of the comet, sort of. Except we're kind of accompanying it. We're going around it. And this is the same thing that is happening. They talk about Nibiru is a much smaller solar system. It's a tiny solar system, but it's a red dwarf, and it's still got its entourage, and so it will create disruption when it goes through. But the eclipses are happening because everything is in alignment. Although we're not actually on a flat plane, we are effectively on a flat plane. And we've had eclipse after eclipse after eclipse, because every time the sun goes round and it's new moon, because we're on a flat plane, the moon is in the way, and that's what we call an eclipse. And every time it's a full moon, when the moon's on the other side, it's a flat plane, so it's a lunar eclipse as well. You see, so we're getting solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, in the full moon and new moon, full moon, new moon. Now, people are probably starting to become aware that the Jews use a lunar calendar, not the Gregorian calendar. And indeed, the Gregorian calendar was introduced by Pope Gregory. And he's the same bloke that decided that he owns the world. which is why we have his time, and he basically put out an edict. Okay, I own the world. Anybody object? It's like I've got the entire Roman Empire behind me. Anybody object? All right, okay. And so he also instituted what we call the Inquisitions. Yeah, great bloke, Pope Gregory. So anyway, he brought in the calendar, and so by using a non-Gregorian calendar, you are actually rebelling against the New World Order Roman Empire. Because, here we go, the Pope, everybody's saying, how come the Pope can say, I support all this and, global this and planetary this, when he's only like the head of one small sect of one large, massive group of 36,000 sects of Christianity? How can he speak for the world? And that's because of Pope Gregory. And by adopting, by using the time system that we have, we are signing up, we are clicking agree to the Gregorian system, which essentially gives the Pope all the power in the world. Does that make sense? And that's why he makes that speech yesterday. Because he's running on the foundation that Gregory put in. And Gregory put in the calendar, which is, the calendar creates our beingness. Think of what you would be like if you didn't use the Gregorian calendar. Oh, when's my birthday?
Yeah.
For a start. When is it? Christmas? Oh, hang on. No, Christmas won't be the same place. You then have to start looking at equinoxes and full moons. And that's how people do it. That's how people have done it since time immemorial. Equinoxes are very easy to spot, because if you can wake up every morning when the sun's rising, it's in the middle of summer, it's rising directly one direction, and you can mark it. And you can put a pin there, put a pole there, stick in the ground. That's where the sun is. That's where it rose that day. And then the next 6 months' time, and you see the sun is going down, it's going all the way down to the south, and that's today, these 3 days is the point when the sun hits the bottom, stops moving, and then starts moving northwards again. So when the sun moves northwards it's actually an esoteric book about the ceremonies of the litanies of coming up to the next equinox, which is the what we call Christmas, or the Christ Mass. Let's get it right. Let's understand what these things are about, because Christmas is not about giving presents. It's about allowing the birth of the Christ within your heart, as opposed to thinking about some external baby who's born in some it's like a bird feeder, cattle feeder. It's a very different process when you look at it esoterically.
So this is right. So we have the calendar. We have systems, and the systems have been dictating to us for centuries, for millennium, how we live our lives, and then we get to a point we don't know how to get out of it. We're kind of stuck. We don't think about it. It just is. And, how could you ever change out of something like that, JP?
Well, you can imagine the amount of coercion that it took for people to absorb this calendar, because it's I don't know if I use a terrible word, but it's messed up. It's very messed up.
Yeah.
And it's caused us a lot of confusion, and also it creates a lot of obsessions. People are obsessed with the time and the calendar, perhaps because the calendar is messed up. That people are obsessing on it. They say, "Oh no, there's something about it." They don't know if there's something wrong about it, but there's something about it. There's something about calendars, something about times and dates.
We have daylight savings and all that stuff. Do you have that over there in Europe?
Yeah. We're on. What's known as
with that well.
Oh gosh, you try running an internet radio station that spans 3-4 time zones.
Yes.
Especially, and it's what I call Nightmare Week. Happens in October, in that the times don't change, the time zones don't change at the same time in America and UK. There's usually a 2-week gap. I think America does it first. So basically, there's 2 weeks when my time is really messed up. I don't know what time it is, because it's really hard to plan programs and shows and stuff like that, because somebody's moved forward, somebody's moving backwards. We've got to wait till it all comes back into step. So now, when is it? In spring, we're 7 hours apart. Normally, I'm 8 hours off PST. In spring, we're 7 hours apart, and in autumn, we're 9 hours apart for those 2 weeks. And I call them nightmare fortnights, because they're just they confuse me like heck. And it's all Gregory's fault.
Yeah.
Blame that bloody...
That darn Gregory.
That darn Gregory. Gregory Peccary.
So, we covered a lot of different stuff, and this is all because, I think it's because Andronicus had to get rid of his girlfriend.
Oh, poor fellow. I mean, it's really sad, isn't it? I mean...
the one comfort he had in life, and it was taken from him.
Yeah, and it was
and it looked like it wasn't a bad relationship; it was a good one.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly comforted each other, because she was very traumatized, and he managed to help her get out of her traumatic situation. I mean, she was like traumatically autistic. You know, she was like, what's that? Rocking from side to side in the corner of a room, kind of thing.
Yeah,
for a long time.
Horrified and
shocked and distressed and traumatized. So. Good old Andronicus, poor old Andronicus, good old Sumeramis. And isn't it interesting that the Queen of Aldebaran is called Sheriah?
Yeah.
Sharia law.
Sharia law.
Because, of course, Sumeria is in, that's Arabia.
Yeah.
And so the society kind of dissolved and dissipated, but elements still are there. And isn't it interesting that their law is called Sharia? That's all.
Yeah.
So, shall we run the outro and say
this is a 1 hour show, so for today, and we'll make it a little easier for your listeners that are following this whole series. We will be back, and there is more ahead of what happens.
Is there?
Excellent. Yes. And when you find out where Andronicus goes, doesn't it make sense? So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
For next week. Yeah, same time, same channel, as Batman would do.
Same Andronicus time, same Andronicus channel. Thank you very much, Jessica.
Thank you.